Hello, and everybody have a very good morning or good afternoon wherever you are. My name is André Lezucourt-Pietri. I'm the chairman of JEDI, and we are here for our new JEDI Science and Tech Talk. And today we are very honored because we have the co-founder and CEO of Hello Tomorrow that most of you know, but probably Arnaud will give us more insights on that. So let's dig deep dive directly into the topic. Arnaud, maybe tell us a little bit about Hello Tomorrow and your main areas of focus and perhaps also your main areas of concerns currently.
Yeah, so thank you, Andre. I'm delighted to be with you. Hello, everybody. So Hello Tomorrow, very quickly, for those who don't know, it's both a community that we grow worldwide through events and startup competitions, and we also leverage this community to provide innovation services related to deep tech to government or private companies. And so what are my area of concerns today? One of them is it's my two daughters and the short nights impacting my life much more than COVID, but that's probably not the focus of this discussion. So related to what we are doing with Hello Tomorrow, I think so basically bringing innovations from science to the market to tackle big issues. I think one of the areas of concerns is the relation between science and society. Because I mean it's not new with GMOs, nuclear. It's not new, but I think today it's really broken the relation between science and society. Also because there on social media there are multiple truths. So this kind of this is also a bit misunderstood, I think, by many people, with the fact that in science you have multiple theories at the same time coexisting. So I think it affects also the trust of people in science, but it's totally different between science, the multiple theories. You can prove them right or wrong. So it's, well, I won't go into the detail, but it concerns me because we are definitely at the beginning of a revolution, what we call the deep tech revolution. So all those new technologies arriving on the market in digital with artificial intelligence, blockchain, but also in life science with CRISPR and also with, for example, the new vaccines based on RNA, also in material science. And if the relation between science and society is broken, there is first the possibility, the problem that our future, which is increasingly defined and shaped by those technologies, will be in the end decided by a handful of people, or the experts or business leaders that understand those issues and kind of decide them. So we need to make sure that we have this open dialogue with society, so that our future is kind of defined by society in general and representing all its diversity. And I think the other issues that might arise, it's a bit the opposite issue, is that if people are scared and the reaction of everybody is driven by fear, we might miss some critical opportunities to solve some of the challenges we're facing, both in climate change, in healthcare, if those new technologies are not adopted because people fear them, because we don't have this open dialogue. So yes, this is I think one of the big concerns today.
No, and we are very happy, absolutely, that we launched together and together with our friends at Les Napoleons also these science and society debates, which is exactly about that. Separate on one side the scientific facts and then the very legitimate societal discussion we need to have, and we think it's the most important to get everybody on board, as you said, and never before then during this crisis the role of science has been critical. Maybe let's build on that part. What do you think can be? I mean, you're French, but you're also a true European. What do you think can be Europe's role in this scientific and technological revolution, this deep tech revolution? Are we really leading today? And what should we do? What could we do?
I think it's been stated quite clearly. I think it was from one of the commissioner or someone high level in the European Union that we are leading in terms of science, but we are not leading in terms of innovation and startup creation. So we have some big assets, but we are not good at transforming the science into companies, into startups or into innovation. So what Europe could do, I think it's important to set priorities and to be clear about okay, what are really the priorities on the long term for Europe, and also commit to really invest a lot in those priority areas to give visibility to everybody. Because when you want to create a startup, or if you are in a big company and you want to invest a lot in one radical innovation, it will take quite some time to reach the market. And if the policies or the priorities change, you're not confident. You don't feel confident to invest. So I think it's important to define clear priorities and then commit to them. I think the second thing would be it's important also for Europe to be more consolidated, both in terms of markets. So China or the US, for example, have a big advantage when it comes to reaching the market, because it's right away, it's a huge market. So if we manage to do that in Europe, so more harmonization of the regulation, of the taxes, to have a more coherent market, that would be great. But I think it's also the consolidation of the initiatives and the ecosystems. We have a lot of, and this is one of the assets also of Europe. We have lots of local ecosystems in urban or rural areas that are very close to the local stakeholders, because innovation won't come only from the big capitals. They might come from universities in smaller cities. But we need to connect those ecosystems, because if you create a startup, for example, you might need talents from any country. You might need an investor probably from any country also. So we need to federate all those ecosystems, and Europe could play a role here. And I think also and I want to also talk about that, because I know that's something important for JEDI. It would be about also taking more kind of short-term risk. So not be afraid to lose money by investing in some breakthrough innovations, because in the end, the biggest risk is not losing money on the short term. It's kind of facing climate change, global healthcare issues. We saw that with the COVID, of course. Also losing the kind of industrial or technology sovereignty, independence. And for those reasons, we should be kind of all in, and we shouldn't be afraid to lose money by investing in a few projects, especially since now with the kind of deep tech approach, it's not only new technologies, it's also a new approach to manage the risk. So instead of kind of trying to de-risk upfront before investing in a project with a huge application form and administrative process, kind of have this leap of faith and trust in the innovators, at least to start working with them, and then kind of have a good process with stage gating and de-risking moving forward. But I think it's important also to change this approach. I know that's something you've been trying to advocate also, André, with JEDI, and I think it's already working. We start to see this kind of shift of mindset, but I hope it will really go further in this direction.
Yeah, and what you say absolutely could be applied to everything we see currently. I mean, this capacity to experiment all the time is probably what we need in a world where it's difficult to have a foresight beyond a couple of days or a couple of weeks. We see that during the pandemic. But maybe just building on the deep tech topic, which you have been advocating for so long, tell us why do you call this a revolution? Why is deep tech? What is really deep tech radically changing the scientific and technological world.
Yeah, that's very important, because that's one of the mission of LA2, more than mission, but it's to build this deep tech narrative, because if there is not a clear, powerful narrative, we won't have whole ecosystems going in the same direction. And so why it is a revolution? So we started to talk about deep tech a lot with, talking about technologies. So saying that besides the digital revolution, which is still, of course, going on and growing, but it's more already existing innovations. There is no new model coming from like e-commerce or social media or mobile apps. It's more existing models spreading to the whole economy. But while this is ongoing, we have those emerging technologies also in life science, in material science, and combined with digital, that are creating new use case, new product, new services. And so we're starting to talk a lot about the technology, but now we want to make sure that everybody understands that it's not just some new technologies when we talk about deep tech. It's really a new wave of innovation, and it's different, not only because it takes more time to reach the market, or it's a bit more risky. That's kind of the narrative that we hear today, and it's also a bit our fault, because that's what we also said at the beginning about deep tech, to kind of make it clear that it was kind of different from launching a digital startup. But what is important is to understand that it's also a whole new approach, which allows to mitigate those risks, to reduce this time to market. And so it's not only new technologies, but I will take one example. It's for example, in synthetic biology, with the convergence of technologies and also the convergence of several approaches like engineering, design thinking, and science, it is possible to do some really like deep science, deep tech, but much more quickly and also for much cheaper than what we would think. And so, for example, in synthetic biology, you can first design kind of the molecule you would like to synthesize in silico. So you can use, and today it's traditional computing or artificial intelligence. But recently we had a breakthrough from AlphaFold, so the AI from Google Mind, which managed to model proteins folding much more efficiently than ever before. So that's a huge breakthrough also to kind of design the protein you want to have according to the functions you want it to have on our body. So it saves a lot of time, because rather than going through a lot of trial and errors, you can start from the right design from the beginning. And then after this design phase, now also with kind of robotics and also artificial intelligence merged with biotech, we are able to do some fast prototyping. So not only for software, but also for biotech. And actually, it's also now possible to find new materials, so material science. Basically, you do lots of experiments in the lab. You have kind of the results being analyzed in real time with artificial intelligence. And then this will close the loop by changing the design of the molecule or protein you want to build, you want to synthesize. So you have those feedback loop that can be done very quickly, and you can reduce the time to produce a new molecule from, I don't know, like 10 years to a few months. So that's, I think that's the most important part. Again, it's not just that we have new technologies allowing to do new things. That's kind of usual. It's more the approach that also makes it way cheaper and leaner to do innovation, but also with breakthrough technologies and not only software. So that, I think that's the most important part.
Oh, that's absolutely fascinating, and I think what you explained on the quick feedback loop, the fact that it actually changes the way science and technology is also developed and scaled, is something that we saw with the vaccine development, where actually for many people, for many leaders, just to conceive that the vaccine could be set up in 10 months, which happened, was just something that was out of the belief. And it's probably a call for action for all those who watch or who will see the replay of that, is that we need to push not only the technological breakthrough, we are working on them, but also on the fact that policymakers understand that this is a radical shift in what science and technology can bring to society. Otherwise, we run behind the curves, and this is obviously dramatic. Segue into your learnings out of that pandemic. How did the pandemic change science and tech, and what have we learned, or what should we learn from the pandemic, Arnaud?
Well, I think that this was really eye-opening on several dimensions. I think it became clear, and I hope we will really take all the learnings from this, but it became clear that the biggest risk was not to invest in innovation and in science. It's very clear with the vaccine. The countries who invested massively definitely are the first ones to get the vaccine. So I hope we will learn from this and again be really ambitious in the way we invest in science and innovation. So I think that's the first learning. And I think another important learning is that when humanity becomes fully aware of a big threat, like it's been the case for the pandemic, great things can happen. And we've seen an unprecedented level of cooperation, massive public spending to solve the problem. And in the end, the output was indeed this vaccine that came out in 1 year instead of usually 10 years. So if we can, for other challenges that we are facing, like climate change or food security, if you can create just a fraction of this coordination and this whole momentum that has been created by the pandemic, but if we manage to do that without being really a face in the world, but maybe anticipate a little bit more, I think we can solve any problem that we're facing. So yeah, that's I hope that we will draw the conclusions from all of this and manage to find this momentum and coordination to tackle the other challenges we're facing. But in the end, it makes also I think it's a really a great momentum for radical innovation for deep tech, as we call it, because of this because of the fact that I think everybody became conscious about those challenges was facing, and that the fact that we need breakthrough innovation to solve them, that there is massive public and private spending. So I'm quite confident that this will be a really like a shift, like an inflection point in the way governments, investors, and private companies also approach deep tech, and realize that this is really now that we need to invest to not only solve the next crisis and face the big challenges, but also to be a leader of the new markets that will arise from it. So that's what we start to see, but I'm quite confident that this will still accelerate. I can hear you, André.
Thank you for these words of hope, Arnaud. And you probably saw that even I would say, a very institutional organization like the International Energy Agency just a couple of days ago made a huge call for action, saying the catastrophic evolution of carbon emissions, which are apparently ramping up like almost there was no crisis in 2020. So yes, let's be hopeful. On the other side, we see that unless we're really next to the cliff or even in the cliff, not a lot happens. One can only also see, seen from Europe, how much the US have been instrumental in the vaccine development. I mean, Operation Warp Speed was probably what saved us all, at least for the development. And now we see also the increased leadership they have on climate with the summit end of April. So how much is this politics? How much is this reality? Hopefully the European, who have been ahead of the time and put forward the Green Deal with super ambitious targets, will also not just proclaim these targets, which is important as an acknowledgement, but also act. So we will all contribute to that, and I'm sure you will have a impact to it.
No, it's definitely we must act, and it's true that if being hopeful means also being passive, it's counterproductive, and that's definitely not the spirit. So together already we are trying to tackle the science and society aspect with the conferences that we are holding online, and with Hello Tomorrow also this year we are going to organize in December the big event to gather startups, investors, LPs, also public institutions. So we are really acting to structure this ecosystem that is required. Also, that's one of the big aspects of the deep tech revolution, since it kind of comes from several domains. We need to have really ecosystems bringing the solutions to the market, and we also keep building this deep tech narrative with. I've been mentioning a few aspects, and where if I can do a little bit of advertisement,
please do.
There are several reports that we publish very deep, if I can say, to understand also how this revolution is unfolding and why it is important now. We published 2 recently that you can find on our website. And we are going to publish 2 other reports soon. One about investment. So how comes that we have a lot of dry powder, lots of money available, but why deep tech startups don't always manage to find the right financing scheme? So how to improve the global investment landscape. And another one, it's a kind of analysis and comparison of the European, Chinese, and US model to bring breakthrough innovation to the market and how they are building their ecosystem. So,
I can only encourage everybody to read these reports about the next wave of deep tech. So, with our grand challenges, with the JEDI grand challenges, and the ecosystem you help to structure, the conferences, these reports, and this narrative. And many other initiatives in Europe. We could have mentioned also Scale Up Europe, launched by President Macron. Hopefully, we will get on the right track, but we need to act, and we need to act fast. Arnaud, it was really a pleasure. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, André, and goodbye, everybody.